We welcome you back to another edition of Inside Earlham Women's Basketball with head coach SHAUNA Watson. The Quakers picked up the first win of the year. In fact, Coach Watson's first career win against Anderson this past weekend. And now they'll be back in action on Wednesday against BLUFFTON, and then they'll travel to Manchester coming up on Saturday. First off, congratulations.
Thank you.
It's got to feel great to get that first one, right?
It does. It's nice to kind of get it out of the way, get over that hump.
Yeah.
So.
A lot of factors in that game, too. We'll maybe take these one by one, but I thought maybe the key was you had some players step up for you big when you really needed them, and maybe not the players that you would come into the gym every day and say those players are going to get the job done today, but they did on Saturday.
Right, yeah, no, I mean, we had quite a few people scoring double figures in that game. It was really good, and Kendall Spears had a career high of 18 points, which I was really happy with. I mean, we're finally starting to get her some more open looks, which is great because it just opens up the inside then for us too. A lot of the attention's been on Zoe as far as our post player. Now that she's hitting shots, it'll kind of drag people out there too.
Yeah, this might be a silly thing to say, and I've said a lot of silly things in my life, but I don't think when I look at your team's shooting percentage and I watch some of the players shoot, got really good form, looks like they're doing what they should be doing, and yet some of them just don't fall. But when you guys do hit shots, kind of makes it a whole different basketball team.
Yeah, and a lot of that has to do with our shot selection. Sometimes we shoot off of one pass, and then it's contested, and then your shooting percentage goes down because the shot's contested, or we rush it because it's contested. So I think our shot selection has gotten better as far as we move the ball around a couple times before we take a shot.
Yeah.
You can get that shot any day. So I think we've been kind of working on those things, and then once we start hitting some layups, I think our shooting percentage will go up a little bit. I think we rush those too, and a lot of times we're so open that we just completely miss it. So, but it has been getting better.
All right, well, layups are another thing. I know what you're saying. But what is it about rushing the shot? I always wonder why players are such a hurry to launch that thing sometimes. What is it about the mentality there with your team specifically?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, contested shots, you want to make sure that you contest a shot just because the shooting percentage goes down. You just feel uncomfortable. I mean, we try to do that. That's what our press does to teams. It makes them take quick shots because you feel uncomfortable. You feel like you have to take it. But like I said, it's really just come down to experience. We're playing very young kids at this point, and so they're just not used to the speed and how things are played at the college level, and I think that they're getting used to that and they're calming down a little bit, which is helping.
And speaking of that, I felt maybe they kind of slowed things down a little bit on Saturday. Maybe kind of felt maybe they let that game come to them more.
Yeah, and I think it's about picking and choosing when we speed it up. I do like to play a fast tempo, obviously, but there's a time and a place to do it sometimes, and I think a lot of times when we do get a close game or we're about to win, we play tentatively, and that's not really necessarily the right time to do that. You want to really just go out there and kind of shut the door on teams, and again, we're still learning how to do that. So.
I was glad though they made a couple of runs at you to kind of see how your team would respond to that whole thing, right?
Right, yeah, and I had a lot of people ask me about that when I called a timeout and I talked to them, and they were like, well, they cut it within 10, why don't you yell at them? And I was like, because I knew that they would crumble if I did that. I tried to be really calm with them, just be like, hey, we're fine, teams are going to go on runs, you just have to respond to it. And I thought that they did such a good job, which is good considering they haven't had that success in the past to be able to respond to that. So
there were a couple of numbers I wanted to ask you about. One of those, you forced them into 29 turnovers, which was huge. You didn't turn the ball over even close to that.
Correct.
Talk about that and what that means for a team that it averaged about 24 coming in.
Right, yeah, we knew that they turned the ball over a lot coming into the game, and we're going to press regardless of that. But our two biggest nemesis have been rebounding and our turnovers. And we've kind of got the rebounding thing under control when we want it to be. And then the turnovers, we've really been working on it in practice, trying some new drills to just value the basketball. And we definitely did that on Saturday. We only had 15, which when you play an up-tempo style, 15 is about where you want to be.
You bet.
So.
Yeah, I'd take that too.
Yeah.
You're not a big basketball team either. The rebounding thing, when you're even, I think anything you can get is icing on the cake when you can rebound the basketball with your size.
Yeah, and blocking out is just an effort thing. Yeah. Anyone, any size can block somebody out. And we get good blockouts. We just don't actually go get the ball. The ball will fall on the ground and we just don't go get it. But again, I think we've been doing a lot better job with that, which has helped to limit those second chance points the better. So,
I'm going to ask you this. I know you addressed this earlier but there were a lot of fouls in that game. And I'm kind of getting like you. I don't think they're letting the women play more of a physical style game, and I think that kind of hinders the flow of the game. I think it hurts the game for fans that want to watch basketball. You can hear them in the stands, let them play a little bit. Is that ever going to change to the point where, let them be a little more physical?
Yeah, I mean, I was watching the UConn Notre Dame game over the weekend, and I noticed that they let them play a lot as far as the physicality. And I think it just depends on the officiating crew that you have. But I think a lot of times they will ref it one way in the first half, and then they'll come out in the second half and ref it a completely different way. So it's hard to adjust to that. It is frustrating, but it's just kind of something that we have to deal with. And we just have to make in-game adjustments. If they're going to call hand check fouls, we just have to make sure that we don't run alongside of them or we don't get too close, which is hard because we do play aggressively. But I think you just have to play to the officiating that you have. So. Yeah,
but it's got to be frustrating as a head coach and as a player that if you're playing a certain style in the first half and they let you get away with it. I'm not saying you're doing anything illegal, but then you come out in the second half and then you have to make that adjustment because they decided to change something at halftime.
Sure.
Kind of hard.
Yeah, no, it is very frustrating. But like I said, it's just something that we kind of have to deal with and make that adjustment. They didn't do anything different than any other officiating crew we've had so far. So, like I said, you get used to it, I guguess.
Have you probably haven't earned their respect yet as a young head coach in your first year. What do they say to you if you get on them a little bit?
Yeah, I know quite a few of the officials just because I'm from the area. I've had some of them in high school, and I've even seen some of them when I was at Indiana Tech. So that has helped a little bit. However, I've learned that yelling does not help. So I make sure that I just kind of calmly ask them, like, hey, what can I do to get a foul? Why is this being called this and that? Which has actually really helped me because yelling does not make them want to help me out. So.
Are you ever going to get a technical?
I hope not. It's not my goal, but
I know. But it's
you never
fun
know.
Sometimes,
it could happen.
Yeah.
It could happen. I did get warned once, but I didn't say anything mean. She just didn't like what I said. So, but it happens.
Sometimes they've had a bad day too. So
exactly.
So. All right, when we come back, a big matchup against a pretty good Bluffton team coming up on Wednesday, and then the Quakers head on the road Saturday at Manchester. We'll preview those two games coming up next, right here on Radio Troy Digital Sports.
For the past 35 years, Van Vliet Insurance has built a reputation of bringing a personal touch. That's because at Van Vliet, it's all about you, your needs, your life, and our town. Along with providing quality coverage to individuals, families, and local businesses, we're proud of our community and the opportunity we have to protect your future within it. Van Vliet Insurance, an Erie Insurance representative. Hometown professionals at work for you.
EARLHAM back coming up on Wednesday here at the Athletics and Wellness Center. Pregame at around 7:15, tip-off at 7:30. And then on the road at Manchester coming up on Saturday. Now, I'm pretty sure that is a 4 o'clock start time at Manchester. Men's and women's doubleheader, by the way. All right, let's talk about Bluffton basketball team. I hate to say how important a game is this early in the year, but it really is. Yeah. You guys are now 1-0 in the conference and love to get that momentum rolling again. But they had a little bit of a hiccup in their last game, correct? They didn't get a chance to play because of the accident with Transylvania.
Right, yeah. Transy was in a car accident on their way to the game, so it got postponed, and they haven't set a date for that yet, so it'll be interesting to kind of see how they work that out. Yeah.
All right, what do you know about Bluffton, and what do you expect on Wednesday?
I mean, obviously, Bluffton's a really good team. I actually picked Bluffton to win the conference when we did our preseason poll. I played against a couple of the girls that they have returning, and I know how good they are. But it's not that they're not unbeatable. I mean, I think that we just have to really prepare for them, and I think that we play better against better competition. So I'm actually really excited about it to see how our girls rise to that challenge.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I tell you what. Let me go back to the turnover thing. Is it a team that you think you can turn over on a pretty consistent basis with the type of style that you play?
Yeah, I mean, it was a team that we still pressed when I was in college too. It just kind of depends. I think they have their coach is really good, and I think he's going to prepare them really well for it. But it's also just about we don't know exactly how they're going to break a press, so we also have to then make those adjustments in the game, which we did against Anderson really well. And so hopefully we can. It just kind of depends on the adjustment we make, or how confident they are with the ball. But it's always a possibility. Yeah.
Yeah. Some teams don't like that, do they? I mean, they don't like that game being sped up if they're not used to it.
Right.
Manchester, you go back out on the road on Saturday. It'll be a part of a men and women's doubleheader. Talk a little bit about Manchester and maybe not playing as well as they'd hoped right now.
Right, yeah. I mean, they just lost to Mount St. Joe over the weekend, which I know that Mount St. Joe's been playing a lot better. So it really didn't surprise me that they got that win. But it'll be interesting to watch that game and kind of see how it's been going. I haven't really done much research on them yet.
Yeah.
But I do know that they struggled a little bit last year. And I've talked to their coach a little bit over the summer, and he said they might still kind of be in that rebuilding phase.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to watch that game and see how it went.
You bet. Hey, injury-wise, you guys healing up a little bit? I know she had a couple of girls down on crutches on Saturday. So.
Yeah, we did. Maddie had surgery a couple of weeks ago on her knee, but she seemed to be doing better, and we still have an ACL tear out. But other than that, knock on wood, we haven't had any too major injuries. So.
Yeah, and that's always a key. And then, of course, your rotation seems to be doing well, and at least it kind of looked that way on Saturday against Anderson. There's a comfort level now, or as you said before, once players get used to that, then they kind of understand where you're coming from.
Right. Yeah, we have. I think we've gotten more on a sub rotation now. As long as we can stay out of foul trouble, I think it's been good.
Yeah.
That's been a struggle. But if someone gets their first foul in the first quarter, I try to get them out so they don't pick up their second one. But yeah, we've been trying to get on a more of a sub rotation, and Maisie's really been helping me with that because I forget sometimes. So
Well, that's why you have good assistant coaches, right?
It's been good. So.
All right, be a fun week.
Yep.
Again, we'll be back here on Wednesday, and I want to remind you again that's a 7:30 tip-off time. Coming out and support the Quakers as they take on Bluffton, and then they'll travel to Manchester coming up on Saturday. Coach, thank you as always. Good luck this week.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time right here on Inside Earlham Women's Basketball, right here on Radio Troy Digital Sports.